everybody, it is the me again, Panga21, and today, oh boy, looks like it's time to talk about something else. Now, of course, with all the topics that I covered, I think that right now, we just need a little bit of a break from the actual PlayStation fanboy assault. And there's a lot of other assault and stuff out there to talk about. But today we're going to be talking specifically about Warhammer 40k 2. Now, with the last time here that I've never really talked about Warhammer or like anything of that nature because, to be honest, I'm more of like one of those people that I understand it, I get the lore, I understand what it is, and I understand what it means to other people. But to me, I never got too into it. I'm more of like a passing fan by the sidelines where I'm like, I know my place and I'm not going to interfere with what I think is really cool. Or I understand that other people are more interest vested in this than me. But not everyone can be like that because obviously that's not the case. But today, with the Warhammer Space Marine 2 kind of coming out very soon-ish at the time of me recording this video, I believe by the time this video comes out, it should be out because there was a paid early access period, which is where I'm pulling most of these from. I'm not pulling tweets this time, thank God. I am, however, pulling out Steam talking points, which Steam Community tab is very unhinged at times, and I didn't realize how unhinged some of these other like forums and websites could be, even on Steam, where I thought it was pretty decent. But, I mean, let's just take a look at a couple of these. I have a handful of them. I'm not going to go through all of it, because quite honestly, some of these are literal essays, but we'll see what we go through here. Now, I'm fairly certain Sneaky Cacti went over this first one by Pixel Perfect, but I wanted to give my own opinion on it, and to just kind of refresh people's memory, just in case. But again, if you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any other way, shapes, or form, links down to everything in the description below. With that being said, let's get started. So, of course, starting off here with Pixel Perfect. Basically saying, not bait, you shouldn't play the game until they add female Space Marines. Here's why. Oh boy, that's how you know we're starting off on the right foot here. Okay, before you lose it and call me woke, listen up. There are people who have been stomped on for centuries, and we're finally at a point where we can start to make things right. You can sit there and play a game made by devs who are openly sexist while also refusing to add a shred of diversity. What's the big deal with having a single Marine who's intersex, LGBTQ, or female? They did it for the Custodes, which everybody hated, in the game, just one. Well, that's because it's not correct to how the game or the lore of the game functions, you know, because it's not how it works, it's not how it operates. Yeah, certainly you can make all these things and say, oh, they're these, this and that, and this kind of ism, but you don't have any evidence of that. Like, I don't know what you want from me, dude. With the next paragraph being, one character, they could be on screen for 5 seconds and it wouldn't hurt you at all, but it would mean the world to someone who finally sees themselves represented. And who's really the snowflake in that, if that idea gets under your skin? I can actually argue the reverse in that context. Why do you care that you don't feel represented in something that's clearly not made for you in this context? And I know other people will be like, oh, well, there's a lot of other things in the market that are not made for you, that you don't want to support, that are very pro-LGBT stuff. It's like, yeah, absolutely, there is that stuff. I'm not going to support it if I don't feel like it needs support. And for certain games, such as like Dustborn and Concord, I didn't feel the need to support them, not because of LGBTQ representation, not at all. In my personal opinion, the LGBTQ representation can help in that context. Very much so. Very much in the pro-LGBTQ plus representation camp over here. But I'm in the camp where you need to do it correctly. And that is contextually different depending on medium, games, and even game to game. You need to understand and make it work with the character. You don't need to make the character LGBTQ just for the sake of it, just to add like an extra bit of of pseudo depth, as I will call it. Making it an actual lore reason, maybe. But at the same time, if you try to force it into the lore, that's a different thing entirely. They don't even need to be a main character. It blows my mind that that anyone would back a game that's this deliberately pandering to right-wing values. Do you even know what you're supporting, or did some World of Warcraft YouTuber just tell you to buy it? I'm fairly certain that they might be calling out pirate software in that context, though unsure. By playing this game, you're choosing to marginalize people who deserve better. That's the point. I get that some will read this and say they don't care, but maybe, just maybe, try putting yourself in someone else's shoes for once. All it takes is a little bit of empathy. You don't have to get with them, but recognize that representation helps people feel less alone. It's sad that you're actively standing against that. With an edit here, just because you give the gesture award doesn't mean you're right with the wrong you're. Don't bother trying to rile me up, because it's not a good look. I mean, you look like a fool. That's why you got the clown awards. It's really funny. It's really funny how these people can look upon this whole thing of, this is how the Space Marines should operate, and this is how I feel the Space Marines are, because there's no representation for this and stuff. So, it's just really funny to me. Next up here, we have a Saku one with a serious replies only. Female artisans / representation. If you just react, you are stupid from an actual argument and reply, so we can just discuss the issue. Okay? I'll reply in a video, and you can leave a comment in the description below if you ever find it. But here's going to be my opinion on your whole take on this. If you have to start your argument by saying, hey, if you do the thing, or you don't like, or if you just clown on me, that's bad. Like, if you have to open your argument like that, it's probably a bad argument. Probably a bad argument. Look, I'll start this off by saying I've been a member of the Warhammer community now for an extensive period of time, roughly 2 years since I started the hobby. Yes. 2 years in a hobby that actually happened to exist since the 80s. So, I mean, got me there. And I've been playing Warhammer and Warhammer adjacent games for the entirety of that time. Yes, 2 years. Ever since I began, I have strongly felt the exclusion of femininity from the primary cast of characters in Warhammer is extremely disgusting. Most notably, the Emperor and his Primex, the Asteroids. I'm going to fuck up these names. I am very sorry to the Warhammer community. In their chapters, and many of the characters besides. So you've been part of this community for 2 years, which in internet terms might seem like a long time, but in the grand scheme of even just Warhammer itself, no. It means that you're fairly recent to the hobby, I would say. I would say that at the minimum, if you want to put it in a long, extensive period of time, I would say a minimum of at least 5 to 6 years is probably doing it. And I know that makes me sound like, I'm doing a job interview. But even still, like, looking at that, you don't know enough. Or, again, I don't even fucking know enough. But you don't get the whole point of it. The Emperor and his Primarchs. Oops. The Emperor and the whole Warhammer, like, main cast of the humans, it's meant to be kind of like a parody thing, like the war stuff. Like, it's meant to be to that extreme. Maybe not a joke, but it's meant to be like to that sort of extreme. And it's also meant to be male-ish. It depends. And like it's not like there's no females in the Warhammer space. I'm fairly certain there is. They're just not in the factions that you think that they're in. And I'm fairly certain that humans like that exist. Like, I'm fairly certain that the human fodder, or I guess fodder, it's just, Again, 2 years, people. This is their expertise within 2 years. If you didn't like the fact that this had, stuff that you didn't like in it, why are you still in the hobby after 2 years is my biggest question. It's not even that we need more female inclusivity, which we do. I mean, like, that right there kind of shows you where their mind's at. It's also that we need more sexual inclusivity, including homosexuality and bisexuality, which are two things which are incredibly lacking in the Warhammer lore and amongst the Astars in the particular. Even just knowing a passing knowledge of what the Warhammer community, or what even Warhammer is in general, like, how does that make any sense? Like, again, you're saying that you're coming at this from a person who has a lot of expertise in the subject, despite the fact that you've only been in this hobby for, again, 2 years, and since the beginning of the hobby, you felt strongly that there should be more representation of this. Meaning that you came in with the pre-biased to want to try to ruin something that perfectly functions. Like, that's the whole point of why people don't want this. Like, it worked fine. What's the problem? Why is it all of a sudden a problem if this thing was okay for years? Like, what the fuck? I am not opposed to any arguments or disagreements on the topic, but I feel like we really have to be serious, strong, united community and have a genuine discord about the topic going forward. This is a live service game, which it is not. I don't believe so. Anything can happen, people. Previously, I would love if they finally bent distracted themselves from the malicious ways of the 90s and finally added female artisans. Edit the Jester Awards, only prove your own stupidity. Which, by the way, they got like 500 Jester Awards at the time of me taking this screenshot. Which, look, bro, honey, whatever, Mr. or Mrs. Saku, what you're saying right now is the exact argument that people hate and that people say is bad because it doesn't work. You get what I'm saying here? Like, it doesn't matter. It's an entertainment property. It's a very fake world. If you want to create your own faction of whole bisexuality and stuff, go right ahead. I don't think people are going to stop you. But they're going to be like, this is not lore accurate, that's more of a side story, or, that doesn't really exist in that context. Because, again, the whole point of Warhammer, at least to my very vague understanding of it, of being a passing fan of it for about, 3-ish years, is that it's just meant for war. And, again, you're saying, oh, this is a live service game. It was a tabletop game before this. You do understand that, right? And that I believe that it wasn't created in the 90s, but it was created in the 80s? If I remember my lore correctly on the creation of, tabletop games. Because it was originally a tabletop game, but before it became, a video game or really anything. Maybe I'll be wrong. I will stand corrected if it was made in, the 1990s or, early 1990s. But, why can't you just not? It's that's the whole thing here. Where it's I come into this hobby 2 years into it, and I'm still upset because there's no female diversity or anything like that. That's, I don't get that. Right? You come into the hobby clearly late in its development, trying to change it for what you perceive as better because you don't feel included in it. Maybe switch hobbies, I guess, is probably the best notion there. I did have several more, but to be quite honest, I'm just going to finish it off with this one because the last one is literally the opposite thing, and it probably deserves its own entirely separate video. But This last one here is "Give us female space marines" by yet another individual, saying, "As someone who is completely new to the franchise, I am pretty excited when I heard that we were going to add female space marines for the next game. However, it was brought to my attention that they were referring to the Amazon series and not the game. I am pretty disappointed, as I thought it would be pretty cool to play as a badass female soldier, but now I have essentially lost all interest. Wish I could refund. Edit every time you gesture, you prove your incompetence." Again, all of these have gotten the Gesture Award. And what I find really funny is that he didn't even get it correctly, if I remember correctly. Like, they said that they were adding female Space Marines to the Amazon show, roughly, and it wasn't even female Space Marines. It was female Custodians, which I believe is a different subset of Space Marines, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know specifically, because of my lore knowledge on Space Marines is doing that. And I also find it really funny. It's like, oh, I'm new to the franchise. Are you new to the community? Do you not keep up with the community notion of what's happening in there? Like, why is it that, like, you lost all interest because you can't play a female Space Marine? Why does that matter? Right? It is a fake game, or a fake thing, in a fake place, in a fake world. Why did you all suddenly going in there with fake information in the first place? Why did you not, like, think about it? Or do at least some modicum of research when you're buying a product? You just thought, like, oh yeah, they're going to add it to the game as well. What? In any case, this is more of just a quick video for a Thursday upload, because quite honestly, I need 2 videos this week, and this one was the other topic that I had picked out. And I'm trying to make my videos not be as like time sensitive as some of the other videos that I do, where it's like salt stuff. This seemed like a good one to kind of post whenever. Same thing with the one last week, where it didn't have much to it. I might slow down again to maybe 1 video a week if things start going the way that I think that they're going. But in any case, that's more of a personal thing. Again, my name is GamePenguin21. Thank you so much for watching this video, because we're going to edit right off there. If you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. I do stream on Twitch. That is my DJ live stream, twitch.tv/GamePenguin21. Catch me to there to listen to some music. If you want, I am going to maybe put up a playlist of some of my favorite VODs from some of the DJ live streams. That's going to be up on the Patreon, probably under the $10 tier if you want to listen to that music, some of the VODs there. I will try to keep that list updated as much as I can, but don't expect too much. But there's enough there from some of my past streams that I'll at least put it up there. I'll also put up maybe 1 or 2 extra videos up onto the Patreon as well. Videos that I don't think really resonate with the main part of my content, or videos that are just I recorded but I decided to leave out for whatever reason. In any case, that's probably going to go up sometime there. I also have a call if you want to support me in other ways. Whatever, but as always, a like and a subscribe is more than enough, and I feel like I deserve at points. In any case, my name is GamePenguin21. If you like what it is that I do, want to support me in any way, shape, or form, links down to everything that's just before, like I said before. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and a peace off.